Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Musk Doctor, just a doctor, but a relentless optimizer of human potential, built from the same stubborn curiosity that's driven me to launch rockets, wire brains, and reimagine what it means to be alive in this wild exponential century. Today, I'm here to talk about something far more fundamental than colonizing Mars or merging minds with machines. I'm talking about the fuel that powers you, your body, your brain, your very existence. Specifically, I'm going to zero in on a deceptively simple choice, the nuts you put in your bowl. Because let me tell you, for seniors especially, that handful of nuts can either be a precision engineered boost to your heart, brain, and bone sore, a silent saboteur, chipping away at your health with every bite. Let's start with a hard truth. We're living in an era where the stakes for health are higher than ever. The world's moving at breakneck speed, AI's rewriting reality, climate's shifting, and we're planning interplanetary civilizations. If your body and mind aren't firing on all cylinders, you're not just missing out on life, you're missing out on history. I'm not here to preach about living forever. That's a distraction. I'm here to talk about living well, about optimizing the biological machine you've got so you can tackle the challenges of this century with clarity, strength, and independence. For seniors, this isn't just about adding year sits, about adding life to those years so you can keep exploring, creating, and contributing, whether it's to your family, your community, or the future of humanity. Now, let me take you back to a moment that changed how I think about health. Picture me in the early days of Tesla, sleeping on factory floors, fueled by caffeine, ambition, and just giant bags of peanuts. I thought I was being smart. Peanuts were cheap, portable, and marketed as healthy. I'd munch through handfuls while debugging production lines or sketching out battery designs. But then the fog set in. I was exhausted, not just from the 100-hour work weeks, but from something deeper. My focus slipped. My blood work came back with elevated inflammation markers. My doctor raised an eyebrow and asked about my diet. That's when I realized I was treating my body like a prototype I hadn't bothered to test. Peanuts, it turns out, were part of the problem loaded with omega-6 fats that tipped my system into low-grade inflammation, sapping my energy and clouding my mind. That was my wake-up call. I didn't just want to fix the symptoms, I wanted to understand the root cause. So I did what I always do. I broke it down to first principles. What's the fundamental job of food? It's not just to fill your stomach, it's to supply your body with the raw materials to rebuild cells, power neurons, and keep your heart pumping like a well-tuned engine. For seniors, this is even more critical. Your body's less forgiving, your margins for error are thinner. Every bite you take either reinforces your resilience or accelerates your decline. And nuts, they're not just snacks. Their concentrated packets of biochemical code. Some are like software updates that optimize your system. Others are bugs that crash it. Let's talk about why this matters, especially for those of you over 60. Aging isn't a disease, it's a design challenge. Your body's a machine that's been running for decades and is starting to show wear. Your bones are losing density about 1% per year after age 50, according to the National Osteoporosis Foundation. Your brain's neural pathways are pruning, with cognitive decline creeping in if you don't actively fight it. Your heart's working harder to keep blood flowing through arteries that might be stiffening. And if you're on medication, say for blood pressure, cholesterol, or thyroid function, every food choice interacts with that chemistry. The wrong nuts can spike your blood sugar, inflame your joints, or even mess with your meds. The right ones, they can strengthen your bones, sharpen your mind, and keep your heart ticking like a SpaceX thruster. This isn't about fear-mongering or cutting out entire food groups. I'm not here to tell you to ditch nuts altogether, far from it. Nuts are one of nature's most efficient fuel sources, dense with fats, proteins, minerals, and compounds that can either supercharge your system or gum it up. The trick is knowing which ones do what. And for seniors, this knowledge isn't just power, it's independence. It's the difference between living in your own home, driving your own car, and making your own choices versus being sidelined by preventable health issues. A 20-year study in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology found that the wrong nuts can raise your risk of liver damage by up to 48%. But the right nuts, they're linked to clearer thinking, stronger bones, and a heart that keeps up with your ambitions. Here's where my approach differs from the standard doctor's spiel. Most health advice is stuck in the 20th century generic, one-size-fits-all, and obsessed with calorie counts or outdated food pyramids. I'm not interested in that. I approach health like I approach engineering, with relentless curiosity, data-driven precision, and a refusal to accept good enough. When I realized peanuts were dragging me down, I didn't just switch snacks. I dove into the science biochemistry, nutritional epidemiology, even the soil conditions that affect how nuts grow. I learned that peanuts, for example, aren't even true nuts. They're legumes prone to mold that produces aflatoxins, which are literal poisons for your liver. I learned that other nuts, like almonds, are packed with calcium and magnesium in ratios that mimic what your bones crave. This isn't about following fads, it's about hacking your biology with the same rigor we use to hack software or spacecraft. Let's zoom out for a second. Why should you care about something as small as a nut? Because the future of humanity depends on individuals like you staying sharp and strong. We're at a pivotal moment. We're building AI that thinks faster than us, machines that outlast us, and soon, habitats on other planets. But none of that matters if we can't keep our own systems running. Seniors aren't just passengers in this future, you're the pioneers, the ones whose wisdom and experience will guide us. But to do that, you need a body and brain that can keep up. Every choice you make, from the nuts you eat to the way you move or sleep, is a vote for the kind of future you want to live in. My personal pivot came when I started treating my body like one of my companies. At Tesla, if a battery cell underperforms, we don't just shrug and move on, we analyze it, redesign it, and make it better. Same with SpaceX. If a rocket fails, we don't say, oh well, gravity's tough. We tear it apart, find the flaw, and fix it. So when I saw my health slipping, I applied the same logic. I swapped peanuts for walnuts, which are loaded with omega-3s that keep your brain firing like a neural network. I started measuring my blood sugar after meals, just like I'd measure a rocket's thrust. And I began to see food not as comfort or habit, but as a tool to engineer a better version of myself. For seniors, this mindset is a game changer. You're not just eating to survive, you're eating to thrive. The data backs this up. Harvard research shows that seniors who choose the right nuts have sharper cognition, stronger bones, and more resilient hearts. Why? Because nuts aren't just food, they're biochemical powerhouses. Some, like walnuts, deliver compounds that cross the blood-brain barrier to fight cognitive decline. Others, like almonds, provide minerals that keep your skeleton sturdy. But choose wrong, and you're ingesting hidden carbs that spike your blood sugar or toxins that stress your liver. It's not about restriction, it's about precision. Let me be clear, this isn't about perfection. I'm not perfect. I still crave the occasional junk food, just like I sometimes want to skip a design review and hope a rocket launches anyway. But I've learned that small, deliberate choices compound over time. A handful of almonds a day instead of peanuts might seem trivial, but over months, it's the difference between a body that's breaking down and one that's building up. It's the difference between a brain that's foggy and one that's firing on all cylinders, ready to solve problems or share stories with your grandkids. So here's my challenge to you. Approach your health like a mission. Don't just eat what's convenient or what you've always eaten. Question it, test it, optimize it. Your body is the most complex machine you'll ever own, and it's up to you to keep it running at peak performance. For seniors, this means rethinking something as simple as the nuts in your pantry. Some will fuel your journey, others will derail it. And in this era of relentless change, where every day brings new challenges and opportunities, you can't afford to let your health be an afterthought. Choose the nuts that make you stronger, sharper, and ready for whatever comes next, because the future isn't waiting, and neither should you. All right, folks, buckle up. I'm Musk Doctor, and we're diving into the dark side of the nut world, not because I love being the bearer of bad news, but because knowledge is the rocket fuel that keeps you ahead of the curve. If you're over 60, your body's not just a machine. It's a battle-tested spaceship navigating the asteroid field of aging. And let me tell you, some nuts are like cosmic debris. They look harmless, but one wrong move and they'll punch a hole through your hull. Today, I'm exposing 3 nuts you should never touch: peanuts, cashews, and pine nuts, and I'm backing it up with hard science and a personal story that taught me the hard way. My mission? To arm you with the data to steer clear of these traps and keep your health trajectory on course. Let's start with peanuts. These aren't even nuts, they're legumes, sneaky imposters that grow underground like some kind of subterranean saboteur. I learned this the hard way back when I was grinding through 80-hour weeks at SpaceX. I'd grab handfuls of peanuts from a vending machine, thinking I was making a healthy choice while troubleshooting rocket failures. Big mistake. My energy tanked, my joints ached, and my doctor flagged elevated inflammation markers. Why? Peanuts are a breeding ground for molds that produce aflatoxin-nasty carcinogens that can wreak havoc on your liver. The American Liver Foundation warns that even low-level exposure over time can impair liver function, especially in seniors whose detox systems are already stretched thin. We're talking about a 48% increased risk of liver damage per a 20-year study in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology. But that's not all. Peanuts are loaded with omega-6 fatty acids, about 4.5 grams per ounce. Sounds fine, right? Wrong. Most of us already get too much omega-6 from processed foods, and piling on more throws your omega-3 balance out of whack. This fuels systemic inflammation, which is like pouring gasoline on the fires of arthritis, heart disease, and cognitive decline. For seniors, this is a deal breaker. Your body's already fighting age-related wear and tear. You don't need peanuts adding fuel to the flames. My fix? I ditched them and started tracking my inflammation markers like I track rocket telemetry. Within weeks, my energy was back, and my joints stopped creaking like an old launch pad. Next up, cashews. These creamy little traders are the ultimate wolf in sheep's clothing. I fell for them during a marathon coding session for Neuralink. I'd munch on cashews by the bag, thinking they were a step up from potato chips. Then I noticed something odd. My blood sugar was spiking and crashing, leaving me foggy and irritable. I strapped on a continuous glucose monitor, the kind we're prototyping for future health tech, and the data was clear. Cashews were spiking my blood sugar like a sugar-coated asteroid. Why? An ounce of cashews packs 9 grams of carbs with just 1 gram of fiber. That's a recipe for a glycemic roller coaster, especially for seniors managing prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, which affects over 25% of Americans over 65, according to the CDC. But there's more. Cashews are high in oxalates compounds that bind to calcium in your gut and can form kidney stones. For seniors with declining kidney function, this is like playing Russian roulette with your urinary tract. I've seen the scans. Kidney stones are no joke, and they're a leading cause of hospital visits for older adults. After my cashew binge, I had a scare with flank pain that sent me to a urologist. Thankfully, it was just dehydration, but it was a wake-up call. I cut cashews out and doubled down on hydration and low oxalate foods. If you're over 60, your kidneys don't need the extra stress. Cashews might taste like a dream, but they're a nightmare for your blood sugar and renal health. Now, let's talk about pine nuts, the smallest, sneakiest hazard in the nut family. These gourmet darlings sound fancy, but they're a minefield for seniors. I learned this during a rare dinner out, celebrating a successful Falcon 9 launch. The salad came sprinkled with pine nuts, and I thought, why not? A few days later, everything tasted like I'd licked a battery. It's called pine mouth syndromia, bizarre metallic taste that can last weeks, suppress your appetite, and for seniors, increase the risk of unintentional weight loss. Malnutrition is a real threat when you're older. The National Institute on Aging says it affects up to 50% of seniors in some settings. But pine nuts aren't just annoying, they're dangerous. They contain compounds that can interfere with medications like blood pressure, drugs, antidepressants, or statins, which many seniors rely on. These interactions aren't well documented, which makes them even riskier. And here's the kicker. Their tiny, slippery size makes them an aspiration hazard. If you got dry mouth from meds or trouble swallowing, a common issue for senior spine nuts can slip into your airway, potentially causing aspiration pneumonia. That's a serious condition that lands too many older adults in the ER. After my pine mouth episode, I banned them from my kitchen and started chewing more deliberately. It's not just about taste, it's about survival. Why am I hammering this point? Because I've seen what happens when we ignore the details. At SpaceX, a single miscalculation can turn a rocket into a fireball. In your body, a single bad food choice, repeated over time, can turn your health into a slow motion crash. Seniors, your margin for error is tighter, your liver's not as resilient, your kidneys are pickier, and your medications are a complex symphony that doesn't need off-key notes. Peanuts, cashews, and pine nuts aren't evil, they're just high-risk components in a system that demands precision. Think of them like outdated software. They might work for some, but for you, they're more likely to cause a crash than a smooth run. This isn't about deprivation. I'm not here to suck the joy out of eating. I'm here to give you the blueprint to make every bite count. When I realized these nuts were dragging me down, I didn't just stop eating them, I re-engineered my entire approach to food. I started treating my meals like mission plans. Every ingredient had to justify its place. Peanuts, cashews, and pine nuts didn't make the cut. They're not worth the risk when you're building a body to last through the challenges of aging in a world that's changing faster than ever. So here's my charge to you. Audit your pantry like you'd audit a spaceship before launch. Those peanuts in the snack drawer, ground them. That bag of cashews you keep for guests, jettison it. Those pine nuts you bought for a recipe, lock them in a vault and throw away the key. Your health isn't just about avoiding disease, it's about building a system that's robust enough to carry you through the next decade and beyond. You're not just a senior, you're a pioneer in a new era of human potential. Don't let a handful of bad nuts knock you off course. Choose precision, choose science, choose a future where your body and mind are as unstoppable as the dreams you're still chasing. Hello, everyone. I'm Musk Doctor, and today we're flipping the script. After exposing the nuts that can sabotage your health, I'm here to talk about the heavy hitters, the three nuts that aren't just food, but precision engineered fuel for your body and brain. For seniors, these aren't snacks, they're strategic assets to keep your heart pumping, your mind sharp, and your bones ready to carry you through a world that's changing faster than a starship launch. We're talking almonds, walnuts, and pistachios, a biochemical powerhouse backed by hard data and, yes, a personal story that showed me their value. My goal? To convince you that these nuts aren't optional. They're mission critical for thriving in your later years. Let's start with almonds. These aren't just nuts, they're the Swiss Army knife of nutrition, especially for those of you over 60. Picture this. I'm deep in a Neuralink project, staring at screens for 16 hours a day, my body screaming for something to keep it going. I used to reach for energy drinks, but then I switched to almonds after digging into the science. An ounce about 23 almonds delivers 97 milligrams of calcium, roughly a quarter of what you'd get from a cup of milk. That's a big deal when your bones are losing density at 1% a year, as the National Osteoporosis Foundation points out. But what makes almonds elite is their magnesium, 76 milligrams per ounce, which acts like a delivery system, ensuring that calcium gets to your bones instead of clogging your arteries. Then there's the antioxidant punch. Almond skins are loaded with flavonoids that team up with vitamin E to form a shield against oxidative stress, the cellular rust that accelerates aging, dulls your memory, and weakens your immune system. I noticed this firsthand. After adding almonds to my daily routine, my skin felt less like a Martian desert, and my focus sharpened during late-night coding sessions. Studies from the Journal of Nutrition back this up. Almonds vitamin E supports memory retention in seniors. Plus, with 9 grams of heart-healthy monounsaturated fats and 3.5 grams of fiber per ounce, they lower LDL cholesterol, keep your arteries flexible, and make digestion as smooth as a Tesla on autopilot. Almonds aren't just food, they're a structural upgrade for your body. Next, walnuts. If almonds are the Swiss Army knife, walnuts are the neural supercomputer. Their wrinkled, brain-like appearance isn't just a coincidence, it's a clue to their power. Back when I was pushing the limits at Neuralink, trying to wire human brains to machines, I was burning out, sleep was a myth, and my focus was slipping. Then I started eating walnuts about an ounce a day, roughly 14 halves. The game changer? Each ounce packs 2.5 grams of alpha-linolenic acid, an omega-3 fatty acid that keeps your brain's cell membranes flexible and your neurons firing like a well-tuned circuit. Research from Tufts University shows walnuts boost cognitive flexibility and processing speed in seniors, which I felt directly. My problem solving got sharper, and I could tackle complex algorithms without feeling like my brain was stuck in low gear. But walnuts go deeper. They're loaded with polyphenols antioxidants that can cross the blood-brain barrier to fight inflammation right where it matters most. Chronic inflammation is the silent driver behind Alzheimer's and cognitive decline, and walnuts are like a fire extinguisher for your neural tissue. They also have a small dose of melatonin, which helped me regulate my sleep cycle during those chaotic Neuralink days. For seniors, sleep isn't just rest, it's a reset for mental clarity and emotional resilience. The Journal of Alzheimer's Disease confirms that walnuts' unique mix of compounds can slow cognitive decline. When I started eating them, I wasn't just fueling my body, I was upgrading my brain for the long haul. Now, let's talk pistachios, the unsung heroes of the nut world. These little green dynamos look modest, but they're a cardiovascular and metabolic powerhouse. During a particularly intense phase at Tesla, I was battling stress-induced blood pressure spikes. I strapped on a wearable monitor, think of it as a prototype for future health tech, and noticed my readings were all over the place. Then I added pistachios to my diet. An ounce about 49 nuts delivers 285 milligrams of potassium, which neutralizes sodium's blood pressure raising effects. The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that pistachios can lower systolic blood pressure, and I saw it in my own data. My readings stabilized within weeks. Pistachios also shine for blood sugar control, critical for the 30% of seniors managing type 2 diabetes or insulin resistance, per the CDC. With a low glycemic index and a blend of 6 grams of protein, 3 grams of fiber, and healthy fats per ounce, they slow carbohydrate absorption, preventing those post-meal sugar spikes that can leave you sluggish. Plus, they're packed with lutein and zeaxanthin carotenoids that protect your eyes from age-related macular degeneration, a leading cause of vision loss. I rely on my eyes for everything from reading schematics to spotting stars, and pistachios have become my go-to for keeping them sharp. Emerging research even suggests these compounds support mental acuity, making pistachios a double win for brain and vision. Why do these three nuts matter? Because they're not just food, they're tools to hack aging. Almonds rebuild your skeletal framework, walnuts supercharge your neural network. Pistachios keep your heart and metabolism in sync. Together, they're like a perfectly calibrated system, each component reinforcing the others. When I started eating these nuts intentionally, I wasn't just nourishing myself, I was engineering a body and mind capable of tackling the biggest challenges, from building electric cars to linking brains with AI. For seniors, these nuts are your allies in a world that demands resilience. Here's the kicker: this isn't about eating more or spending a fortune. An ounce of almonds, walnuts, or pistachios costs less than a fancy coffee and delivers more bang for your buck than most supplements. But you've got to be deliberate. Don't just toss them in a bowl and call it a day. Measure your portions, use a small ramekin, not the bag. Store walnuts in the fridge to keep those omega-3s fresh. Rancid fats are like faulty rocket fuel. And if you're on meds for blood pressure, diabetes, or cholesterol, talk to your doctor. These nuts are powerful, but they need to sync with your system. My personal pivot to these nuts wasn't just about health, it was about reclaiming control. At Neuralink, I learned that the human brain is the ultimate frontier, but it's only as good as the body it's housed in. Every almond, walnut, and pistachio I eat is a deliberate choice to keep my system optimized, not just for today, but for the decades ahead. Seniors, you're not just eating for now, you're building the foundation for a future where you're still calling the shots, still dreaming big, still showing the world what you're made of. Choose these nuts. And you're not just surviving, you're engineering a life that's as bold and unstoppable as the century we're living in. Hey there, I'm Musk Doctor, and I'm here to talk about something that's going to blow your mind, not rockets, not AI, but the way we can use technology to revolutionize how we fuel our bodies, especially for those of you over 60. We're living in an age where we can map genomes, predict asteroid trajectories, and connect brains to computers, so why are we still guessing about what to eat? Nutrition isn't a one-size-fits-all game, and for seniors, getting it wrong can mean the difference between thriving and just getting by. I'm going to show you how we can harness cutting-edge tech, think AI, biosensors, and real-time data, make every bite, especially those nuts, work for your unique body. And I'll share a story from my own journey that proves this isn't sci-fi. It's the future, and it's here. Let's set the stage. Your body at 60 isn't the same as it was at 30. Your metabolism's slower, about 1% per year after 50, per the National Institute on Aging. Your gut's pickier, your liver's working overtime, and if you're on meds for blood pressure, diabetes, or thyroid issues, every food choice is a variable in a complex equation. Nuts, as we've discussed, can be superheroes or saboteurs, but how do you know which ones are right for you? The old school approach generic food pyramids or eat this, not that lists, like trying to navigate Mars with a paper map. We need precision, and that's where technology comes in. Let me take you back to a moment that changed my perspective. While working on Neuralink, I was pushing my body to the limit: sleepless nights, endless code, and a brain that felt like it was running on fumes. My diet was a mess, and I was popping supplements like they were candy, hoping to keep up. Then I had an idea. What if I treated my body like one of my prototypes? At SpaceX, we don't guess about rocket performance. We measure thrust, drag, and heat in real time. So I strapped on a continuous glucose monitor, a tiny device like a patch on my arm that tracks blood sugar every minute. I started experimenting with nuts, eating almonds one day, cashews the next, and watching the data roll in. The results were a revelation. Almonds kept my blood sugar steady as a SpaceX landing, while cashews sent it spiking like a failed launch. That's when I realized we don't have to guess anymore. We can know. This is the future of nutrition: personalized, data-driven, and precise. Imagine a world where you wear a biosensor smaller than a quarter that tracks not just your blood sugar, but your inflammation markers, heart rate variability, even how your body metabolizes fats. This isn't fantasy, it's tech we're already building. At Neuralink, we're working on interfaces that read brain signals. Why not sensors that read your body's response to every meal? Pair that with AI. Think of it as a digital nutritionist that analyzes your data, cross references it with your meds, and tells you exactly which nuts to eat and when. For seniors, this is a game changer. Your body's unique, your genetics, your gut microbiome, your prescriptions. So your nutrition should be to let's zoom in on nuts. Almonds, walnuts, and pistachios are my go-to, but their impact varies. My glucose monitor showed that pistachios, with their 285 milligrams of potassium per ounce, help stabilize my blood pressure during high-stress Tesla crunch times. But what if your body reacts differently? Maybe your kidneys are sensitive to potassium, or you're on a beta blocker that interacts with certain compounds. A biosensor could flag that in real time, telling you to cap pistachios at half an ounce or swap them for walnuts. And walnuts, those omega-3 powerhouses, might be perfect for your brain, but could go rancid if not stored right, turning healthy fats into harmful ones. A smart fridge sensor could ping your phone to remind you to keep them in the cold, ensuring every bite delivers maximum benefit. Here's where it gets personal. After my glucose monitor experiment, I didn't stop at nuts. I started tracking other biomarkers, sleep quality, heart rate, even my cognitive performance using apps that measure reaction time and memory. I found that walnuts, with their melatonin, helped me sleep deeper, which was a lifeline during Neuralink's early days when I was averaging 4 hours a night. But I also learned that my thyroid meds were sensitive to certain foods. Brazil nuts, with their 96 micrograms of selenium per nut, could boost my thyroid function, but too many risk toxicity, which can cause fatigue or nerve issues. So I set a hard rule: one Brazil nut a day, no more. That's the power of data turns guesswork into precision. For seniors, this approach is critical. You're not just eating for energy, you're eating to keep your heart steady, your brain sharp, and your bones strong. But you're also navigating a minefield of medication statins, ACE inhibitors, metformin that can interact with food. The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition notes that dietary choices can enhance or disrupt drug efficacy. A biosensor could warn you if that handful of nuts is clashing with your meds or if your blood sugar is creeping up after a meal. It's like having a mission control for your body, catching problems before they become crises. Now, let's talk scale. This tech isn't just for tech billionaires or lab rats like me. Companies are already rolling out affordable wearables, think Fitbits, on steroids that track biomarkers like glucose and inflammation. Apps like MyFitnessPal let you log meals and see trends, but the next generation will integrate with AI to give real-time advice. Imagine a device that buzzes your wrist. Hey, those almonds are working great, but skip the cashews tomorrow, your glucose spiked. For seniors, this means independence. You don't have to rely on vague dietary guidelines or annual checkups. You can make decisions daily, hourly, even bite by bite to keep your system optimized. But here's the catch: tech is only as good as your commitment to use it. I learned this the hard way. During a boring company project, I got lazy, ignored my glucose monitor, ate whatever was handy, and my energy crashed. It was a reminder: data is useless if you don't act on it. So start small. Get a basic tracker, blood pressure cuff, glucose monitor, or even a sleep app. Log your nuts: an ounce of almonds, 14 walnut halves, 49 pistachios. Track how you feel, energy, focus, sleep. Talk to your doctor about your meds and how nuts fit in. This isn't about being a tech geek, it's about being the CEO of your own health. Why does this matter? Because we're not just aging, we're redefining what aging means. Seniors today are running marathons, starting companies, and teaching grandkids to code. But to do that, you need a body that's not just functional, but exceptional. Technology lets you hack your nutrition like I hack rockets, with precision, iteration, and a refusal to settle. Every almond you eat, every data point you track is a step toward a future where you're not just surviving, but leading. You're not just a passenger in the century, you're the pilot, and your body's the ship. So grab the controls, use the tech, and fuel yourself with the nuts that keep you soaring. Hello, everyone. I'm Musk Doctor, and we're at the final frontier of this journey, not a distant planet, but the most critical mission of all, building a future where you, especially those of you over 60, aren't just aging, but thriving with the kind of vitality that powers revolutions. This isn't about nuts alone, though. Almonds, walnuts, and pistachios are your allies. It's about a mindset, a way of living that treats your body as the ultimate spacecraft, ready to navigate the uncharted territory of this century. I'm here to share a personal lesson that reshaped my view on health, a vision for how seniors can lead humanity forward, and a call to action to make every choice, from the nuts in your bowl to the way you harness science, a step toward greatness. Let's start with a story. A few years back, during the grind of scaling Tesla's Gigafactory, I hit a wall. Not a metaphorical one, I mean a physical, mental, emotional wall. I was running on 4 hours of sleep. My diet was a patchwork of takeout and vending machine scraps, and my body was sending SOS signals, headaches, a racing heart, and a brain that felt like it was stuck in a low orbit fog. I'd been ignoring the basics, treating my health like a secondary project, while I obsessed over battery yields and production timelines. Then, during a routine checkup, my doctor showed me my blood pressure 140/90ths, creeping toward danger, and my cholesterol numbers were starting to look like a rocket with a misfiring thruster. That was my moment of truth. I wasn't just building machines, I was one, and I was failing to maintain it. That wake-up call forced me to rethink everything. I didn't just want to fix my numbers, I wanted to re-engineer my entire approach to living. I started with the basics: food, sleep, movement, but I approached it like a SpaceX mission, with relentless focus, data-driven decisions, and a refusal to accept mediocrity. Nuts became my starting point. I swapped out the junk for almonds, walnuts, and pistachios, measuring portions like I measure rocket fuel, an ounce a day, no more, no less. I tracked my biomarkers: blood pressure, cholesterol, even my mood, and saw the needle move. Within months, my blood pressure dropped to 120/80ths, my LDL cholesterol fell, and I was sleeping deeper, dreaming up ideas that fueled Neuralink's next leap. It wasn't just about nuts, it was about treating my body as a system to optimize, not a burden to manage. For seniors, this mindset is your superpower. You're not just eating to stay alive, you're fueling a mission to live boldly, to lead, to inspire. The American Heart Association has data that backs this up. Seniors who make deliberate nutritional choices, like prioritizing nuts rich in omega 3s, potassium, and antioxidants, show better heart health, stabler blood sugar, and sharper cognition than those who eat randomly. But this isn't just about numbers. It's about what those numbers enable. The ability to chase your passions, to share your wisdom, to be the rock for your family or the visionary for your community. Every almond you eat, every walnut you choose, is a vote for a future where you're not sidelined by age, but empowered by it. Now, let's talk vision. We're living in a time when humanity is on the cusp of something massive. Think multi-planetary civilizations, AI that augments our minds, and lifespans that stretch beyond what we've ever imagined. But none of that happens if we don't master the basics. Seniors, you're not just along for the ride, you're the pioneers who'll show us how to age with purpose. Your choices today set the template for the next generation. Imagine a world where every 70-year-old is as sharp as a 40-year-old, running startups, mentoring kids, or exploring new frontiers. That starts with you, and it starts with something as simple as the nuts in your kitchen. Here's how you make it happen. First, stock your pantry like a mission control center. Keep almonds, walnuts, and pistachios front and center. Think of them as your fuel cells. Store walnuts in the fridge to protect those omega 3s. Rancid fats are like a glitch in your system. Measure your portions with precision. 1 ounce of almonds, 23 nuts. 1 ounce of walnuts, 14 halves. 1 ounce of pistachios, 49 nuts. If you're tempted by peanuts, cashews, or pine nuts, keep them in a treat jar and touch them sparingly. They're like experimental prototypes, not ready for prime time. And for Brazil nuts, stick to one a day. Their selenium is powerful but toxic in excess, per the National Institutes of Health. Second, sync your choices with your health team. If you're on Metze for blood pressure, diabetes, or thyroid function, talk to your doctor. Nuts like walnuts can amplify certain drugs' effects, while others, like pine nuts, can interfere. I learned this when tweaking my thyroid meds. One Brazil nut a day kept my levels steady, but two tipped me into jittery territory. Your doctors, your co-pilots use them to calibrate your plan. And don't stop at nuts. Build a diet that's a balanced ecosystem: lean proteins, colorful vegetables, whole grains, all working together like a well-designed spacecraft. Third, embrace the tools of the future. Use a blood pressure monitor, a glucose tracker, or a sleep app to see how your body responds to your choices. I use a wearable that tracks my heart rate variability. It's like a dashboard for my stress levels. When I eat pistachios, I see my metrics stabilize. When I slip and grab cashews, they wobble. These tools aren't just gadgets, they're your window into what makes you tick. The Journal of Gerontology shows that seniors who monitor biomarkers like blood sugar and cholesterol have better outcomes because knowledge is control. You don't have to be a tech wizard, just curious enough to experiment. Why does this matter? Because you're not just living for today, you're building the foundation for humanity's next leap. At SpaceX, we don't build rockets for one flight. We build them to be reusable, to keep exploring. Your body's the same. Every choice you make, every nut, every step, every data point is an investment in a future where you're not just surviving, but leading the charge. You're the ones who'll show the world that age is just a number, not a limit. You're the ones who will inspire your kids, your grandkids, and maybe even strangers to live with purpose, to chase dreams that seem impossible. So here's my charge to you. Don't settle for ordinary. Don't eat what's easy or familiar. Treat your body like the masterpiece. It is a machine capable of carrying you through the greatest adventure of all, life in this extraordinary century. Stock your kitchen with almonds, walnuts, and pistachios. Track your health like a mission log. Lean on science, not habit, and never ever underestimate the power of a single choice. You're not just a senior, you're a trailblazer, a visionary, a force of nature. The future isn't waiting, and neither are you. Go out there, fuel your greatness, and show the universe what you're made of.